So this video is to give you a quick overcap on how to find things in our Canvas pages. So first of all, what I've done here is this is the student view of our Canvas pages, which is a little bit different than my normal view, but this should be exactly what you guys see, barring that really bright obnoxious pink bar at the bottom. Okay, so first thing is I am on an internet browser. If you are in the Canvas app, things do look a little bit different, but all the material is exactly the same. So this is a nice little cover page. Key thing at the top here, you do have the most recent 2 announcements that I've sent out. If you want to find the other previous announcements, you can go over here and click on announcements and it'll list all of them. Okay. We do have some menu buttons here, including this one right here that says what you need to know about the class. They all go to different things. If you hover over the hyperlink, it'll actually tell you where it goes inside of all of the pages of the course. Down here, excuse me, down here is a copy of some of what you had in our temporary pages before we started the semester. It's got some links to geometry in the news and looking over at both Euclidean and Configure It, and this here is your class code. That way you can, if you're looking for things and want to find it fast, these are some of the fast places to find things. So let's look at all of these. If you click on this very first button, it'll take you to syllabus information. If you click on the second one, it'll take you to all of our quick links. The third button will take you specifically to the page on test. This one you probably don't need anymore, but this one would take you to the very first class day of what you'd need to worry about. And then these next ones are going to take you to strategic points through the semester. This one here would be your first main module, topic module in the course. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the backbones of where everything is. I'm going to go ahead and click on modules here, which is not necessarily what I recommend you doing, but I wanted to show you everything all at once instead of bouncing around to where everything here was. That way I don't forget something. Okay. So I typically keep these guys completely collapsed. That way it looks more like a table of contents, and then you expand the individual modules here, but that's personal preference. Naturally, the first time you see it, they will be all totally expanded and you literally see everything. Okay, so let me go ahead and collapse. So this first one you probably don't need. Course navigation is that first opening page right here. Pre-class information, this is literally the copy of the temporary Canvas page that we had before the semester started. I kept it here in case you remembered something on that page and couldn't find it anywhere else. Okay. Nothing should be like that, but maybe just weren't able to find it. Quick links. These guys here are sorted both by general information as then assignments information. This video is housed under the how-to videos, which will be visible here once I finish recording the video. Okay. So general resources is general resources for our course. The first main one is accessing the elements. These are all the free ways of accessing elements. These here are the 3 volumes of Heath's translations in Euclid's Elements, books 1 and 2, 3 through 9, 10 through 13. These links take you to where those ebooks are in our library, okay? And you can actually get them for free from our library. From an online source, Clark's University is probably the one that most people go to. It is searchable. Let me show you. There's all this stuff here about who did it. But if you want to actually go to an individual book, maybe you want to go to book 1, you click there on book 1. Here, I'll show you again. You click here on book 1. It'll pop you to, or are we going to go? Okay. I'm going to go back to book 1. And at the top, it gives you a table of contents where you can go to the different things. But notice here, it lists all the definitions. And here, it's just listing out what they are. If you actually want to start seeing how to do them. So for example, proposition 1 in book 1 is constructing an equilateral triangle. Click on it, and it doesn't just have the proposition here that you saw a little bit ago. It also then gives all the details that Euclid talks about. And what's nice about this one is it then gives you more information about it at the bottom too. But everything that's highlighted here in this sort of brownish color, this is what's actually in Euclid's Elements. And then there's some other ones. Perseus Digital Collection is just another one slightly organized a little bit different. Burns is actually really interesting, especially if you picture things a little bit differently than a lot of people. This one is extraordinarily interesting. So, for example, book 1, if we look at proposition 1, everything's coded in pictures. Postulates. I gotta scroll down just a second. I should have prepped this one. So, proposition 1, given a straight line, to describe an equilateral triangle. Note this is kind of old English, so these things that look like S's, well, I guess really integral symbols, are actually S's in the middle of a word. Used to be the S in the middle of the word look like an F, S at the end look like a normal S. So this says describe a triangle and another triangle based off postulate 3, which is to construct a triangle. Draw a straight line and another straight line. This is postulate 1. Then the triangle will be equilateral. Notice that it's color coded over here. So this is extremely good for people who are very, very visual in that sense. Some people, this just annoys the hell out of them. Okay. But this here is actually a YouTube channel of a lady that goes through all of Euclid's elements. I can't remember if she goes through more than book 1. Definitely book 1 proposition and explains what everything means. Supplemental text. This one here is Roth's manuscript. He's the guy who taught this class before me, and he started typing up his own book. This should be a link to that. Some of it's really good. Some of it's probably too hard to read. This one here, An Axiomatic Approach to Geometry. This is a book that we should have on reserve at the library. Ditto for, actually, it's an e-textbook that's an open textbook, and this is the link to get it. So it's like being on reserve for the library, except you can get to a URL to it. Jacob's Geometry, which should be on reserve at the library for us, and Keys to Geometry, which is also something that deals with constructions. Jacob's Geometry is actually a high school geometry textbook on proofwriting geometry. Keys to Geometry is also a K through 12 thing on dealing with constructions. Not as precise as what we're going to be doing, but if you're having trouble with constructions, this is a really nice sort of kick in the pants to get there. In terms of additional resources, this also gives some additional resources on dealing with Euclidean geometry. Not so much on the Hilbert geometry we'll get to, but on Euclidean geometry. And then these are links to GeoGebra, Configure It, and Euclidia, which is our 3 main interactive geometry things that we're dealing with. And then some other stuff, which some of this is history, some of this is comics, and some of this is other things relating to geometry. And I did not mean to spend that much time on that page. Office hours and tutoring. This has links to the Math Center tutoring on campus. We do have 2 tutors over there who can tutor in geometry. And just as a heads up of how to find them, they are not in the open tutoring, they're in the by appointment tutoring. So if you go to the, now I have to find it. I should have prepped this up. Tutoring by appointment, there it is. So over on the side here, well, it looks like they don't have that link correct. Let's see. Nope, that is not what it is. Alright, so I'll have to probably adjust and go find that link, but they do have, the last time I checked at the beginning of this semester, 2 people who could actually help in geometry, so I'll have to update that link for us, for you guys to go find them. Connecting with your group members, this is specifically a discussion board that links only your team members together, so if you need to talk with them outside of class, you can. This is not a requirement in any way, shape, or form. It was just making sure you guys had ways to connect. And then also I did individual pages that deal with our homework, that deal with our tests, and that deal with our quizzes and activities. No, I haven't updated anything with the activities yet, but will do soon. And just as a heads up in terms of the test, we have 2 tests and then a final exam. When we get closer to the test, I will go ahead and put up the study guide as well as some sample exercises so that you have some guidance in terms of what to look for. And that deals with quick links. So that there was coming from, to get to quick links, that's this button will take you directly there. Now, introduction, syllabus, and other details, that one is where this button takes you, of course info. So this one here gives you an overview of what the plan is for the course, the same office hours and tutoring, the information about all the different textbooks, materials needed. This is all the information about compass and straight edge. This is the syllabus. It gives you both the link to the PDF copy of the syllabus, as well as I went ahead and copied and pasted all the info in the PDF syllabus into an actual Canvas page with the appropriate hyperlinks to, so this is the actual PDF syllabus, and then to the appropriate links out all over the place inside of our Canvas pages and the UNCC pages. Okay, so notice all those hyperlinks. I have some hyperlinks in the PDF version as well, but not as many. If we have to go online, these are the tech requirements that we need to worry about. If you get sick or have any sort of emergency, this deals with the procedure of what you need to worry about doing, including of how to contact me. And this is basically be nice to your classmates. General resources, I think this is the same. Yeah, this is the same general resources we saw before. And then these were informations on how-to guides for Poll Everywhere, Ziteboard, Zoom. We haven't done Zoom yet, but we've done the other two. I should have a GeoGebra how-to guide up there, but it looks like it hasn't been made yet. Mainly because I think I probably need a video for that one. I can't even think of what to write out for it yet. Maybe just the link. And then we had our introduction survey and our syllabus quiz. Now, one thing about this course is they are linked together where you need to complete certain things in order to move on to the next guy. So notice how this one says complete all items. It's really complete all items that are marked. So this says make sure you look at this page. This one here says make sure you look at this page by that date. This one says make sure you look at this page. This one says make sure you, the due date is this one. This one says you need to score at least a 5 out of 10 on your syllabus quiz. Okay, so as long as you score at least a 5 out of 10 on your syllabus quiz and you've actually looked at these pages that say view, you've completed all the items in that module. Now notice here on the next module, it also says complete all the items, and notice how some of these are grayed out. That's because we haven't done the first requirement. So the first requirement says look at the introduction. Now as soon as we look at this introduction, you click next and you look at the next one, and this is just the university's standard module on academic integrity. Let me go back to where we were. Yep, you can do it. Notice now we have these next pages are now not grayed out. So as soon as you've done the prereq that's tagged here, you can go on and move on the next thing. So anything that's grayed out, all that means is you haven't done the prereq. So this one says complete all the items, but you have to complete them in order. Now, the next one here doesn't require you to do that previous module, but it does require you to actually look at everything that's tagged. So this one says, make sure you look at this guy, make sure you look at this one here, and both of these are strategies, hints, suggestions on how to be successful in our course. Specifically, it's a lot about time management and when to start working on our questions. And while we haven't had it yet in homework set 1 or 2, which are relatively low-key assignments, homework set 1 was just trying to make sure that you could upload stuff from the various locations correctly for the homework, and homework set 2 is sort of getting your feet wet with geometry. You'll see this more of starting with homework set 3 and beyond, of you actually going to have to take a little bit of time to work through these problems, especially when we start getting a little bit into the more advanced constructions and when we have proof writing questions. These aren't things that you normally can just sit down and do. Okay? And especially when we get into the modern geometry, not classical geometry where we're currently living, but into modern geometry, these are things that not only do you have to think about a little bit of time, you won't be able to cheat and look up the answer somewhere on Google. And if you are able to look it up on Google, you probably aren't actually in the area of math that we're living in or that we're working in. Okay, so just as a fair warning, make sure you leave extra time. And I did actually survey people, students. I actually have an end of course survey that says, hey, is there advice you give to future students. Unfortunately, have not had a chance to update it in the last year or so, although I totally should. There's been some good advice in the last 2 semesters, but some comments of what people have said, hey, really helped them. So all of these comments right here are from the last time I've taught this course in a face-to-face, not an online setting, just because I haven't updated over the last year. And what you can't see yet is the next topic, but where we're at currently right now, where we're focusing on constructions. This one here is set up, and all of the future ones will be set up in the same way in this location, in this same format. So in this format, what does it say to do? It's constructed right here where you have an introduction and resources. So this first page deals with course material, and let's go ahead and open that up. So course material tells you what we're looking at in terms of foundational material. It goes ahead and says what you should be able to do by the end of this topic. And then it says where we're actually in. And notice it looks at 2 places. It looks where we're at in our actual textbook, that black and white covered book, and also where we're at in Euclid's Elements, and that's because we're really looking at both of them. Now, what does it have here? It also has some handouts. So some of these are the handouts that I project up on our projector. I haven't printed out any of them yet. And then down here, the notes. These are the actual notes that we've done in class. I go ahead and merge the notes that are the actual slides that are projected up with the ones that are handwritten, and that's why they go up after class as opposed to before. And I have, so far at least, gone ahead and put in a video from, so far it's only been last semester because we've matched up with last semester, but I'll go ahead and put in a video if I've got one on this section, at least so far. Okay. And then I went ahead and we'll go ahead and link the different activities. I will eventually have all of these activities linked up, graded, and have their answer keys for you. Right now they're just linked up. And here at the bottom, quick links to the assignments, as well as some extra supplemental resources here, specifically on constructions. And if you wanted to have some extra information on basic geometric knowledge, such as angles and other things that I'm kind of expecting that you remember from either middle school or high school, but maybe it's been a while or maybe you've forgotten it. These are some resources of that type, and some of these actually are from middle school and high school books, and nice colorful pictures so they're easy to remember, just because they were put together nicely. Okay. Alright, so coming back here, this here's a link to that Clark's The Elements by Euclid, the one that we saw earlier. This one is a link to GeoGebra. This one's a link to Euclidia. I probably should have a link to configure it, but I don't. This one's a video of how to do straight edge and compass constructions. And notice this also asks you to complete all the items in order. So because we were asked to view this one, and I haven't yet in this student view that I'm in, everything below it's grayed out. So let me go ahead and click on that. I don't even have to watch this video and it'll tag in Canvas that we've gone ahead and seen it. And for most videos that I go ahead and put up, I'll also put the actual things that we've done here. But I would recommend that even if you put this on like double speed, put it on in the background, look at it type thing. That one we've actually done in class. The next one goes through a couple of the basics that we actually did in class. Those are from a couple semesters ago when I asked people to do them on their own. Alright, let us get back now to modules. And notice now at this point, when we come over here, because we've now looked at this guy, everything else now is unhid, or is now accessible, if you will. Okay. So then the first catalog was resources. Here's the main resources, and then a couple of highlights to look out for. Then the next one is daily course information. I put here what we're going to do each day, and then what activity that we're going to have in that day. It looks like this one actually should be scooched down. That's going to bother me. So I'm going to go ahead and just scooch that down real quick. There we go. And then we have down here assignments, quizzes, and homework. And I go ahead and put these together. And this is actually why I have a complete all the items in order. By having that, it requires you to actually complete this quiz before you get in and do the next homework set. So in terms of this next homework set right here, you're not going to be able to access that next homework set until you do the previous one, and it looks like I need to swap those two. So I'll do that real quick here as well. So good news, you've already done this since homework set 2 was already due. Okay, but so this requires you to do them in order, and that's how I get the quizzes there. So just as a heads up as well, these symbols out front in Canvas do mean different things. The one that looks like a space shuttle does tell you it's going to be a quiz inside of Canvas. The one here that looks like a piece of paper with a pencil, or kind of like a door with a pencil, that's going to be an assignment where you're going to upload something. And you guys have already done it at the time of this recording, but all of your homework sets will have the directions of the actual homework set in it. I typically do 5 questions, and then they'll be uploaded inside of GradeScope. You actually need to upload them here. If you do want to see any of the grading comments, they are all housed in GradeScope. You'll need to actually, as long as the assignment here is still open, you can click on the same button and get there directly. But if the homework set ever closes and you can't access this page with these buttons, you can access it from like homework set 3 as well, or you can just go directly to this menu button right there. Now let's double check that I've talked about everything that we need to in this course, and it looks like we have. So the next topic would be modeled this exact same way. You'll have resources. You'll have daily information, including any activities that we'll do each day. And then at the end here, you'll have any quizzes and homework. Sometimes it'll just be homework, and in that case, there's no quizzes attached to them. Sometimes it'll have quizzes attached to them. Okay? But that is the basic crash course of what you would see for each day. Oh, I didn't actually click on a day. So for example, if we click on a day. So in this case, the structure of this one here was stuff to do before class, what to expect in class, and then additional resources. This one here is specifically all the links for things attached to this topic, and these are supplemental resources that are not necessarily directly tied to this guy, but are interesting or possibly useful. Okay. In terms of what to expect for the course, I'll go ahead and do a quick summary of what I think we're going to do that day. If we have any links, especially over to GeoGebra or Ziteboard, I'll go ahead and put it in right there. If we have any activities, I'll put the activity link in. In terms of the to do before class, this is both a combination of things to actually do before class, as well as materials that you'll need for class. So for example, on this day, there were 2 handouts that I recommended to have for class, and then you would need your straight edge and compass during class, and since we were going to have an activity with GeoGebra, you needed something where you could actually access GeoGebra. So notice here, these guys were the things specifically that you would need for class. Now this one, in terms of things to do before class, these 2 here are probably going to be things you start not seeing anymore just because we've dealt with them almost every day, making sure you can log into Poll Everywhere and into GeoGebra. But the main thing here to do before class was make sure that you look at those 2 videos of how to use a straight edge and compass and the basics of construction, which I believe I'd had to do for a couple days prior to this as well. And part of that was just to make sure that you could access the rest of the modules so you could get to the different information. And one of the things that I'll typically do is I'll typically tag the next class day with a to-do so it actually shows up on your Canvas calendar. But that now is everything, a total crash course in terms of what to know about navigating our Canvas pages.